Welcome to another action-packed sport conversation. This is your Biggie on sport. As we always bring you a number of guests on our studios to educate us and inform us about what's happening behind the scenes as far as sport is concerned. We all know that football is a lively sport throughout the continent, if not throughout the globe. And many football enthusiasts, they travel long distances to make sure that they support the sport itself as they watch their favorite and respective teams play. South Africans are no exception. We know that many of them, they go to different stadiums, be it a beautiful stadium, big or not, or small stadium, or at the grassroots level. Dusty grounds, they go there to support their teams because it is where talent is nurtured, it is where talent is identified. South Africa, back on the 3rd of February 1996, I guess this moment will be etched in many South Africans' minds as we won the first 1996 Africa Cup of Nations, since South Africa was accepted into the international arena in terms of sport. And a series of football activities were hosted in South Africa. We know that the tournament was hosted back in 2013, the Africa Cup of Nations, right here in South Africa. But the biggest football showpiece was the World Cup that was hosted in 2010, right here in South Africa. It played across the country in different stadiums. And it was an excitement that on its own created infrastructure. Not only that, but also generated economic spin-off for the country. And fast forward to that, a number of activities were conducted, were held here in South Africa, including other sporting codes. We know that we had Netball World Cup that took place in Cape Town a few years ago. In this episode, my guest is Michael Bender, a man who has traveled the world. He's passionate with football. He has done so much on the grassroots level in making sure that he unearths and nurtures talent right from the ground. He's going to host one of the biggest tournaments, which we're going to discuss as we move and progress with our conversation here. But for now, allow me to welcome Michael. Michael, welcome to Biggie.
Thank you. It's my privilege and pleasure to be here today.
Just briefly, who is Michael Bender?
So Michael Bender is a passionate football lover. Played professionally, played in my youth, coached for many years, been involved in the South African football landscape for about 35 odd years. Consequently, as we coached and discovered talent, the question was always, where do we take this talent? We build them up locally, we try to put them into PSL teams, we try to put them into good, solid clubs in those days, which was the old SAB League, etc. But the biggest thing that was missing was we weren't engaging on an international level in youth. Some teams had been overseas. In 2016, I decided, with a very good associate of mine, we'd had enough. And I know that sounds quite strong words, but it is strong words because, let's be fair, 2010 was phenomenal for South Africa, and all we've done is watch it dilute to the point that it has no relevance in youth football. I'm not being disingenuous. The point is youth football needs a bigger support platform. So in 2016, we selected these 12 little boys invitation team and we took them to Spain. Wow. And we played in a massive Spanish tournament. To cut a long story short, the first team we drew was Real Madrid. Wow. Now you can imagine little boys from Gauteng going over to Real Madrid. Some of these kids had never been further than Cosmos City to Randburg, and now they were facing Real Madrid. They arrived with the bus and the tracksuits, and we were just like rabbits in a headlight. Wow. Within a couple of minutes, we were 3-0 down. Why? Tactically, you could see these boys had been playing together. I mean, these 11-year-old, 10-year-old, 11-year-old boys. They certainly weren't as talent-based as us in terms of the 1v1. However, we progressed through the tournament. We started doing very well. We beat the French champions, Lyon, 7-0. And everywhere we went, people were Afrique du Sud, because, you know, it's the Spanish way of saying South Africa. And we just came back thinking, hang on a second. Every coach had spoken to me about, we haven't seen such fantastic raw talent in kids. The difference is they train 5 days a week, they eat together, they live together, they go to school together. So their infrastructure exists. However, we started planning, how do we expand upon this concept? We then went in 2018, we went over to Iber Cup in Portugal. We took 160 South Africans. And all of a sudden, South Africa started feeling home. We were playing top teams. We made a cup final against Benfica. We lost only 1-0. We started going, hang on a second, there's an opportunity for us to develop football in a different realm. Not take away from what's been done in South Africa, but we need to compete internationally. And I say this with the greatest respect again to the powers that be. If we do not compete internationally, how do we play on an international stage? Sport is based on international competition. So we realized we had to find a way to try and close the gap. We negotiated with Iber Cup in the day to buy all the rights and the franchise rights to bring it to South Africa under the pretext that we would hold a tournament here. I'm really proud to say that it's a couple of years later, Iber Cup are partners in Iber Cup. We're no longer just paying them a license fee. You know, if you look at a 9-year-old child playing in a tournament, not against international teams, but being privy to part of watching an international team play, it gives them hope and dignity. So we honestly believe the way to develop grassroots football, and our takeaway from the problems that we are facing, is to start bringing more and more international competition to South Africa. Why? Coaches can start seeing where the gap is. How do we close the gap? Part of what Iber Cup does, and this is very, very critical, not only do we bring big teams to South Africa, but we run a program where we coach coaches. And we must understand, if we don't get the coaching right, our kids will never ever prosper. So we have to start at coach the coaches, that then coaches downward into teams, and then hopefully we start seeing South African boys adopting a methodology of football that still keeps African flair. Because trust me, I get told all the time, you coming here to steal our talent and they'll lose South African football, they'll never play like Africans. No, that's the bonus. Our talent pool, if we can play South African talent, mix it up with the methodology of the European style games, I honestly believe that in the next 5 years, we'll have the players like Lucas and Benny all back in Europe again.
Michael, listening to you, you seem to be saying that there's a raw talent, especially on the grassroots level in South Africa, but not much has been done to unearth and create a platform for this talent to be exposed so that we can be competitive and comparable to the rest of the globe.
So, you know, I think the saddest thing is access. We talk about, we have this great digital platform called mobile technology, and yet the access still doesn't exist for our players to be able to showcase their talent. The problem in South Africa, and really I'm very critical of the so-called fly-by-night ghost agents, stroke scouts that prey on the poor. Because you must remember, families sitting in a township are under this impression that if my kid gets a contract overseas, it gets me out of poverty. You know, FIFA is very strict with this rule. FIFA doesn't allow a child under 18 years old to be transferred overseas unless the parents are taking up citizenship or they have work or the child has a bursary to study. So now ask yourself this question. You know, I'm the CEO of Español de Barcelona Football Academy, so we are constantly looking at our boys in the academy. How do we take them over? Africa's a big, far distance from Europe. Child from a township, growing up, as you said, in the dusty streets, playing football, unbelievable talent. He first has to write an entrance exam to go study. It's difficult. You have to learn the language. The food's different. You must remember, players in an academy, even though we mentor them, are not going to be liked by the players that are there. Because all of a sudden, who's this young African talent that's coming into an academy that could take my place? So at practice, they don't play them into the game. So there's a lot of criteria before talent can be shifted. I want to tell you this, Biggie, and I mean this, and I really am committed with my partner in this. If we didn't believe we could get this right, we wouldn't be doing it. South Africa has an abundance of talent. How do we identify them is the problem. You take a child, you need 2 to 3 years with a South African player. Unless, of course, he was a Stephen Pienaar, Benny McCarthy, Lucas, some guys that broke the mold, but they're exceptions to the rule today. Because today, football has just changed so quickly and so fast and rapidly. In the old days, you went over with a video and talent. Today, you get the specifications from a club saying, I want a boy of 19 or 20 years old. He must be 89 kilograms. He must be 6'2". He must be able to give proficiency on left foot and right foot. So all of a sudden, it's like a shopping specification. And that's what the agents are. We see every day in South Africa these adverts for trials. Come play overseas. Cost you 1,500 Rand for the day. And we're going, how can you evaluate a player in under a day to determine where they belong overseas?
And for a shorter time.
It's impossible.
For a shorter time.
It's impossible. You need at least 2-3 sessions with a player. Notwithstanding, we do AI-generated evaluations. Can you coach the weakness? So to your point, sorry, I do get a little bit over passionate because
it's okay, go ahead.
South Africans are getting the wrong end of the stick here. You know, a parent sits at home, they know their kid's doing well, and in their mind, you're a Chiefs fan, a Sundowns fan. In your mind, that's where my kid's going to hopefully end up one day. I've been blessed to work with the Sundowns Academy. I've known the Chiefs family for a long time.
Okay.
That's not where we should be aiming. We need to be aiming away from that. But when you don't have money and you can hardly buy boots, how does a kid get overseas?
Because that's a common challenge in the townships in as far as sporting equipments are concerned. Despite the fact that these players are talented and they would like to go out there into the field and showcase their talent.
Biggie, you hit the nail on the head here. So much talent is just, but listen, it's global. You know, you go to Brazil, for instance. So where we're very excited here about talent in South Africa, Gauteng provincial government and Gauteng schools started the Wednesday football program that we're very lucky to be part of.
Okay.
And not lucky, but we have a role to play in with that, because in Europe, if you see a talent in a school, those teachers are already geared up to be able to make a phone call to a local team and say, we found this amazing boy in our school. Remember, he's already in an education system.
Exactly.
That's how they build kids into areas of competencies that may not be the footballer, but he could be a coach, he could be a ref. So when a school system works in spotting talent, that's where it starts. We understand in South Africa, you got school teachers. I would never want to be a school teacher. Can you imagine on a Wednesday afternoon now, all you want to do is get home, and now you're going to be told, no, you've got to keep the kids here for another 2 hours. But it's about changing the generational mix in terms of the teachers being coached to identify talent and create community-based opportunities for kids just to play and have fun. So whilst we're serious about Iber Cup's function is to give teams in South Africa an opportunity to play in a tournament that's never been done here before. You know, I sit here and you're going to be shocked at the statistic. As I sit here now with you right now, 798 clubs have registered to play in Iber Cup.
The one that is coming to South Africa?
No, that's just South African clubs.
Okay.
If we look at the Africa, let's take Africa. Liberia, Nigeria, DRC Congo, Ghana, Kenya, Ivory Coast, Mozambique, Zimbabwe. It's been incredible.
Wow.
It's told us it's needed, it's time. You know, you spoke about the 2010 World Cup and leaving a legacy. Sadly, that legacy doesn't exist anymore. The new generation that we work with don't even know there was a World Cup here. No one's fault. It's the way life turns. When you look at the international level that we have now, so we have obviously teams from Europe, and I'll reveal them slowly as we go along.
Okay.
But the first team to sign almost overnight was Paris Saint-Germain. Now, you know, that's
the one in France.
Yes.
Paris
Saint-Germain are coming. They're bringing their under 15 team.
Okay.
Straight after that, Benfica signed up with us, which is Portugal's best team. Their academy is coming. And then Español Barcelona signed up and said, we're bringing their European under 13 championship team. And it started spreading. River Plate, Argentina's biggest club, coming. Palmeiras from Brazil, coming. Last night from Alredia is the first UAE teams coming. Now we've got a team from Japan coming. This is bigger than a World Cup, to be honest with you.
Yeah, you're right.
And then there's the English teams. So Newcastle United, done.
Confirmed.
We're currently working very closely with Manchester City, Manchester United, Chelsea, Spurs. Unfortunately, Liverpool had already committed to a program. They couldn't come. And again, you know, we're just saying, any one of these teams come here for year one, it's going to be the major breakthrough, because we know year two will become a little easier.
Yeah.
I say it again, when you've got an under 12 team from Rosina, Clapham High, because Sundowns have signed, Chiefs have signed, Amazulu have signed, I mean Cape Town City are coming, Bloemfontein. That boy's finally looking and going, wow, maybe this is real. So what's missing in South Africa right now? We have a generation of sportsmen. They don't trust us anymore. And why should they? They've been promised this beautiful South African dream, and all they've said is watch it never happen. We have to give hope and dignity, because we honestly believe Iber Cup's role is to help also build the future generation of leaders. Because as you know, sport is pivotal and critical to developing leaders, captains, understanding teamwork, etc. We honestly say Iber Cup is not just about kicking a soccer ball. Listen, it's going to be amazing. And you better be there. I hope, I mean, between the 12th and the 16th, we really want you on those fields. We have to start giving our kids the first step. That is, wow, I actually could make it. Then the second step is, how do I achieve the coaching I deserve? All the funds to buy boots. You said it all, Biggie. How do you expect somebody to become a great footballer when some of our Bafana players are car guards? That's not inspirational. That's not aspirational. Yeah. So there's a lot of other things that need to be done. We say Iber Cup's bringing a value system now. We want kids to understand part of Iber Cup. And I must admit, Gauteng provincial government have been wholly supportive of this. In actual fact, we did this presentation in 2019 to them.
Wow.
Then COVID came.
Wow.
And then football went away.
Okay.
And they've stuck with us.
So you started way back in putting preparations for this particular tournament.
5 years.
5 years.
I've aged 20. 5 years preparing.
Michael, let's educate the viewers. Iber Cup, its originality, and why is it called Iber?
So Iber is short for Iberia. And in the past, Iberia used to be Portugal and Spain.
I see.
So Iber Cup, in actual fact, was launched in 2010.
Okay.
And it was called the Lisboa Cup, which is Lisbon.
Wow.
Because it originates from Portugal.
Okay.
Two brothers, Felipe Rodriguez is the current global CEO. He's also ex-Benfica man, and he decided, like us, we need a Johannesburg Cup or a Cape Town Cup, whatever it may be. He created the Lisbon Cup. Okay. Under the pretext that because the teams were all very close to each other in Europe, he could get the best of Europe to start playing.
I see.
Iber Cup has grown exponentially, and I'll give you an idea. Iber Cup in Brazil alone runs 22 franchises. It's the globe's biggest youth football tournament in the world. Iber Cup, we do annually 150,000 players and over 10,000 clubs play in Iber Cup. There's not a team you can't mention that hasn't played in Iber Cup. Wow. Real Madrid, Barcelona, Manchester United. It's just never ending how it's growing and growing. It's part of the FIFA accredited system, and UEFA are our partners in Iber Cup. And again, wherever it starts. So Iber Cup is launching China in 2025. Philippe's currently in the USA now, finishing up the deal on the USA. Okay. We play Rio de Janeiro, we play Sao Paulo in Brazil, Spain, we play in Andalusia, we play in Barcelona, in Portugal, Cascais, Estoril, Lisbon. It's just a traveling road show, but it's starting to gain momentum now in leaving legacies behind.
Okay.
So Iber Cup in the beginning was putting on football tournaments.
Okay.
Now we need to look at legacies. And that's why it becomes important to have South Africans looking after Iber Cup in South Africa. Our intention with Gauteng provincial government is we will train up and host 14,000 jobs over the next 5 years. So it's, again, not just about kicking a ball, it's all the other parts that contributes to
generating economic spin-offs for the country.
Yes, so Biggie, you're 100%. How do we keep football alive knowing there's very little money in these townships for people to be able to say, wow, I would love to be a great footballer, and there's no infrastructure, and the LFAs don't exist, etc. So Iber Cup, its long term is to start building a hub in Gauteng, where it's going to lead to an international academy here.
Wow. Mike, you played football yourself, although perhaps you couldn't make it to the professional ranks. Am I right?
Yes, you are right, sir. Yeah. But I think it was just after Noah's Ark left the harbour is when I last played. I played amateur football in Germiston. I'm a Germiston boy. I used to play for in the old days of the NFL, which then became the NPSL. Yeah.
Okay.
I used to play for Germiston Galleys.
Okay.
And at a very young age, I was blessed to be scouted to go play in England.
Okay.
Went overseas. And again, this is why I sit here today, was I'd never traveled further than Durban. All of a sudden, here I am overseas, and I'm just hating every minute of it. Don't know what it's about. I'm a little boy from Germiston. I'm not saying you need to be sympathetic of my cause, but they didn't like me. The British boys didn't talk to me. We were at Birmingham City Academy. We had to clean boots because we were apprentices and all of this. Came back to South Africa in the 80s. I made a few good teams. I then was looking at joining the Chiefs Academy in those days.
Okay.
Peter Balek, Jingles Pereira,
Peter Balek.
We still had Jan Chaba Malombo, the City teenage Tlatla was my hero. And you know, you're an 18, 19-year-old boy, and it just becomes impossible. I used to go to Orlando East Stadium. And I realized coaching is where I wanted to be. I carried on playing. I played, what is districts now is provincial then. So I played in a lot of amateur, Transvaal 1 it was called, good football, a lot of ex-professionals.
Okay.
But I realized coaching was really where my passion was. And it's quite funny because I never thought I wanted to be a serious coach, but I wanted to get involved with coaching. And at a very young age, I started coaching at then Randburg Football Club.
Okay.
I ended up becoming chairman. I then got Costa Papic involved.
Okay.
And we started building the Costa Papic academies. I worked with various teams.
Costa Papic is the former Orlando Pirates
yes, coach. So I was involved with the Orlando Pirates in those days with Costa. And then we decided we started our own. Then Costa made the mistake of leaving Pirates and going to Chiefs and creating hell for all of us. But that's another story. I'm very close to the Matahang family, I might be honest with you, as I am to some really key people in football. We're working with Second Kune at the moment. So PSL's never been where we were aiming, to be honest with you. Our concept really when we started the whole coaching process was just to create good football for kids to play.
Okay.
The biggest challenge again is when you saw a kid come from a township to the clubs we were involved in, and you could see the difference in their physical sizing because they hadn't eaten properly as younger kids. Excuse me.
Nutrition comes into play there.
And yet they tell it. You know, we found a little boy called Karabo, I won't say his surname. He was playing in the C team in one of, it could have been in the Cosmos City or Deep Slurt area.
Okay.
And he just had energy. And we went to the mother and we said, listen, is there any way we could bring him over? She said, I don't have money. I can't even pay for the taxi. So, you know, you say to yourself, how far and deep do you want to get into this? I'm currently CEO of an academy now in South Africa. And we do almost 2,000 kilometers a week in traveling. We have players from Orange Farm.
At your expense, Mike?
Yes. Well, we have sponsors. We do reach out to sponsors.
Okay.
You see, Gauteng provincial government are also on a new journey with us. As we both are achieving milestones in this entire Iber Cup concept, it's opening up other avenues and channels of opportunity.
I see.
This is the long-term development with the new MEC, to be honest with you. The old MEC was fantastic as well. The HOD at the moment, he's been also really, really great in embracing.
HOD for sports.
Yes, for sport, arts and culture.
In Gauteng,
HOD, China Mashanini, and then the MEC Chilone. They have been phenomenal in terms of going, okay, what do you want to do? Bring coaching, get involved with the schools. So they haven't gone, well, we'll partner just on a tournament. The tournament is what we call the icing on the cake. Next year we'll launch 3 smaller tournaments so that it's not so expensive for kids to participate. We're running coaching clinics, we're running players clinics. I'll bring our coaches from Europe here, our UEFA Pro license coaches, which I've been doing now for 3.5 years. I did it on behalf of La Liga. I brought all the La Liga coaches to South Africa and we did La Liga training camps around the country. So to your point, socially, our kids are not geared up for European yet. But that's an easy one. It's the economic challenges that we're faced with. Because you can imagine, we have a little boy in 16 years old, we play him against some serious teams, and he's unbelievable in the first half. In the second half, we just watch him shift. And you'll sit with him and you'll say, "Are you okay?" Because I haven't eaten for a day. You know, that's heartbreaking. I will tell you heartbreaking stories, but going back to being a player, it gave me the benefit of understanding both sides. When I started studying to be a coach, and I wanted to be a coach, you know, your first impetus is win at all costs. You want to take these boys and you forget they're 11, 12, 13, 14, and your motivation is, I want to hold a trophy up at the end of the season and say, look how well we did. But nobody was thinking, what happens when they're 16, 17, 18?
Yes.
You don't. You want to win trophies. You want to be the most popular guy, the best coach, but you're not going. So when I hand them over at 16 or 17, and they've got absolutely nothing except them, you can't eat your medal. You can't eat the trophy.
You can't.
So part of our entire business plan is to start creating opportunity through postgraduate. So Iber Cup next year will host a tournament. We want to host it over the next 5 years, but we want to start saying we want to run clinics. If you want to be a coach, and we understand you have to pay SAFA to write a SAFA license or a CAF license, but if you want to just know entry-level coaching, what it's going to come, we'll facilitate that. I'm hoping to run a coaches forum, sir, and I'd love you to be there. I stand under correction, but I'll confirm the dates. I think it's about the 10th of November, where we are inviting every single coach, we don't care who you are, to come and join us in a symposium, and we have an open mic day.
Surely I'll be there, Michael. The reason where I'm going with my question, as you being a professional player, yesteryear players, they used to play for the badge. It's generally known, it's believed, as compared to today's players. We know that football has been commercialized today. It's about making money, and today's players, they don't seem to be committed, especially in our country. Michael, I'm sorry to put you on the spot. I mean, how do you get a striker come end of the year? A striker has scored 12, 10 goals, whereas back in the days, as you just said, the likes of Samora Kulu back then, and Eric Shagalngobo and many others, they would surpass about 20 to 25 mark goal scoring. What's your take? Where did we lose it?
So you want to get me into trouble? I can see that. You actually want to put me on the spot here, because I'm extremely outspoken about this, and I've made a lot of enemies, I believe. Okay, you know, there are two things we need to start really deciding on where football belongs. You know, Benny did an interview recently, and he talks about
Benny McCarthy.
Yes, sorry, Benny McCarthy did an interview recently. Very interesting interview, and he spoke about when, as a youngster, he was growing up, and he would look at where Bafana was in the world rankings, or in Africa rankings, and we were 5th, and then we went to 10th, then we went to 20th. And you start smiling, because he says eventually you were scrolling, like, you know, when they ask you to put in your age, and you got to put in the year you were born, and you started, he says, and he was scrolling, and all of a sudden we're at the 100 mark. What has gone wrong? So I think, and again, I don't have the inner workings of what goes on behind the scenes, even though I work very closely with SAFA. With Gauteng, who is now called Gauteng Football Association. So SAFA's changing the name of all of their regions. And I've been in and out of SAFA for a long time. In actual fact, 2009, I did the Confed Cup in South Africa before I worked on the 2010 World Cup. I think we've got caught in a trap. We have PSL teams who are very strong. And the PSL is one of the most successful financially run leagues in the world.
Exactly.
But they've become almost their own business, own football association.
Okay.
Because nowhere in the world, if I get selected to play for my country, would a team or a professional soccer league say, I'm not releasing you? Pride. We've lost pride. You know, to play for France or Germany, it's the penultimate goal.
For any player in that country.
It should be for our players.
For our players.
If you say to our players, who do you want to play for? Often we talk to the kids. They'll choose a club before the country. So I think perception is we're not good footballers anymore. But yet we have some of the greatest talent, I honestly believe, if we could just get back down to where Walter Steenbok is focusing. And I take my hat off to him.
He's doing a phenomenon
unbelievable.
show.
We have a 17, under 17
exactly.
team, under 20 team.
Highlands Park is...
Everywhere you look, we never had this 3 years ago. But what support is he getting? It doesn't help when you have an under 17 coach and they're not permanently employed. They're temporary employees who are getting bad salaries. So capital investment is key to building anything. When we reinvest financially into the people that are going to make the difference to the teams and the youth, you'll start building. When you have players playing for big clubs, and the disparity between the top clubs versus the bottom half of the PSL is so huge, it's frightening.
For Championship Foundation.
It's not even that. I'll give it one of the top teams. I'm not going to mention who they are, but we were about to start the training session, top PSL team, and we watched the first car come in, and 3 of the players were pulling in a car. It was a BMW 3 Series. Then a few minutes later, in came the 7 Series. A few minutes later, in came a really big Bentley. And we're going, and then here comes this little scorer with another 4 players in it, and I'm going, look at the difference that you've just seen in a car park. And these are players on the same team.
Huge disparities.
We know your superstars get paid fortunes, but that's in England. And Europe, that's not here. So when you have a player in any of the ABC Motsepe leagues or whatever, and they're earning 2,000 Rand a month, you're starting to say, where's something wrong? But I don't believe the PSL's at fault. The PSL's a business. It runs a business as any business.
Exactly.
And each team is its own business, because what people don't realize is it costs millions to run a PSL team. I think we're failing in the lower ebb of football in the LFAs. If I look at the local football associations in South Africa, and I'll give you an idea, and I don't want to pinpoint a specific, because it'll lead up to SAFA, but if you really want to create trouble. So there's a region that has 11 LFAs. To service an area of 20 kilometers radius, 11 LFAs. It's too many, number one. Of the 11 LFAs, 9 are technically insolvent. They don't have money, the cell phones haven't been paid of the chairman. Now, how can you build footballers when the structure at the top has failed? At the bottom, it's just going to keep failing further and further. I think since the President Motsepe is now part of CAF, I think he's doing incredible stuff, but I also think they've lost their minds. How do you expect a township coach who potentially maybe has 1 team, 2 teams, to be paying 3.5 to 20,000 Rand to become CAF accredited? Because otherwise he's not allowed to coach in his township. Guys, so there's this gap. So why are we failing? What do we do with talent? We're not taking them overseas. At one stage there was almost 200 South Africans playing football in Europe. If you speak to Mike McCarp or Clint Binken or any of the agents, I'll tell you, we were playing in 3rd division, in 2nd division, Turkey, Greece, Serbia. We had South Africans playing everywhere. The problem is, as soon as they can leave, they get out. I've got a little boy I coached. Granted, he came from the German school, he had a German passport. He's playing in top flight football in Germany, 20 years old. He'll never get recognized to come back and play here because he doesn't want to. So what has to change? The regions of the LFAs have to be, so exactly like Walter did. How do you say Johannesburg, Gauteng? Who's scouting? Johannesburg, Gauteng. All those clubs. That it's his function and his job to go out every weekend to the games and go, this boy I'm seeing now, it's the 3rd game in a row, he's shining. Let's make the note. The problem is, the minute the boy starts shining, PSL team's going to grab him. So now PSL team grabs him at an early age. There's 2 boys. There's a boy in Pirates, in fact, a boy in Pirates and 2 boys in Chiefs, 13 and 15. Talent. But where are they going to go? If I went to Chiefs, with all due respect, they're going to say, we invested, we put the money into this kid. They won't let me take him overseas for a trial. You know what I'm saying?
I always look forward to engage with a knowledgeable person in as far as football is concerned, someone in your caliber. Allow me to quote the Bafana Bafana coach, Hugo Bruce. One thing I respect about him, he hinted on something a few years ago, say that it was still early days for Cassius Mailula to leave Sundowns and go to the US. And look at that boy, what is happening to him in the US. He's a bench warmer. He's a bench warmer. And Bruce has made so many examples, and all of them, they come out to be positive. I remember moaning about Lepasa while he was not playing at Pirates. And Lepasa came back, he started scoring goals before he sustained injury. Do you think, are we exporting these players at the right moment to correct to the right countries at that particular moment?
Let me ask you this question. Most clubs in Europe right now have 17, 18 and 19-year-olds playing in their club teams.
Exactly, like your Jamal. Like your Jamal. Look at Jamal in Spain.
Look at Barcelona, Pedri, Gavi, Yamal. They were all in their early 20s. What's the average age of Bafana? I'm not even going to tell you. Close to 30. So the gap, to your point. Hugo Bruce, I tell you what I really liked about him. Because again, you know, it was like, oh God, here comes another Bafana coach, that'll be a year, take the handshake and go. I loved when he said right from the beginning, you want South Africa to improve? Get the bottom to start working. You don't have development football in South Africa.
Exactly.
How do you develop players if you don't have development? So we were all like, we found the man. I don't think we're exporting players too late. I think the clubs hold on a little bit longer than normal. You know, Second Kune just players gone to Esperanza now, which is the second division. And we need to create, and this is where Iber Cup has a huge role. And I don't know if you meant this, but you've hit the nerve. We're bringing 14 international scouts for Iber Cup. To see all those 156 teams playing, just for them to make notes. You know, Biggie, I'll give you an idea. Just pre-COVID, we took a team to play in Las Vegas downtown Mayor's Cup. It's one of the biggest tournaments in the USA, where all the colleges, universities, and then the NCAA universities come to scout players. Where do we have that? We don't have that in South Africa. You know, we don't even have Gauteng districts anymore.
We don't.
I used to run district tournaments as part of the RCLFA. I think they're trying to establish it again. What happened to the days of where South, West, North, East, Central?
I remember those days,
Just played, So it's all going back to a collapse of projects that helped build structure. We have no infrastructure. Can we move players earlier? I'll give you an idea. We just signed last year Leandra Sneda, which is a Banyana lady.
Wow.
We signed her to Español Barcelona.
You're kidding me.
She's in our first team. She's flying. But what people don't realize, she was in Spain for 2 years before then, because that's the development period. So to your point, can we take a 17-year-old overseas? Absolutely.
No.
They're going to take 2 years to get to where they need to be before they can walk into a team. People, you know, I mean, we talk about Benny a lot. Second highest goal scorer in the EPL. To Didier Drogba in his day. Ask him his journey. He had to fight all along the way. My biggest fear is we take boys overseas and we don't give them infrastructure. You know, we talk about certain players, Jabba Pule, Mushlangu now. Went over early, shuffle, what a player, one of the best players. He lost his mind and he went missing, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
He's got a great program on at the moment where he's saying kids. So you need to manage a lot of things. You need to manage the child, his finances, his emotion. I'm not going to talk about emotional state. We know what happened to our player, and I'm not mentioning his name. He got injured now in the game, which was the worst thing that could happen to a South African overseas. He had a mental breakdown. How does that happen? We should be taking players over earlier.
The one at Bentley, the pair at Bentley.
Burnley, I want to mention. It's not fair, you know, he had his problems.
Yes.
You know, but he's playing for Burnley, scoring big games. Nobody knows his journey. All of a sudden, Master Palacio says he was involved. Supersport say they were involved. Everyone's involved in the success. But when they fail, you don't hear anybody.
Everybody just stands themselves.
We need to build support systems that when players are struggling, how do they shift and move? You know, I'm working with a club in Finland at the moment. I coached in Finland 6 months ago, and we're working with a club. They play very tactical, very textbook football. I said to them, let me throw 2 African boys in here. And those South Africans will just bring a whole new dynamic to your game. And they are excited. We're working on the 2 boys now. We're grooming them. I need them for another 6 months. And then we're going to take them over and just give them the trial. We need to consider the following. In our days, sorry, I think I might be a bit older than you, but in my days, even Pele, 16 years old, playing in a World Cup. Generationally, we've shifted as South Africa from developing the right age at the right time, giving them the structures they need. And again, I'm not being disingenuous of the PSL, please understand that. Because the PSL do have, look at Mamelodi's Academy, look at Chiefs Academy. They're doing the right thing as they should as a business. But where's the transfer to a level where they can come back and represent our country?
Exactly, they have those good academies, but we ain't seen some of the players being moved from that academy into the senior side. It's only a few of them, the likes of Jabula Blom, Yomashiane, etc., etc., etc.
You know, we don't want to steal talent and leave South Africa behind. But what we want to do is, I want to go back to the days of knowing a South African child is going, I want to play for Bafana. And that's what you want to get kids to believe in. You know, we talk about the spirit of rugby. And we smile because, remember, rugby was an Afrikaner Boere sport. Everybody was going to take the springbok off the jersey and all of that. Let that be a lesson to how being successful builds a nation. But when you're failing, and I'm not saying we're failing, but when you're not achieving the right rankings and you're not getting up there, listen, now we're winning. So let's see, there seems to be a buzz. But how can our stadiums have 3,000 people in a stadium?
It's embarrassing.
There's something so wrong with everything. It's our national team. Get up and support it.
And with those numbers, you cannot even draw sponsorship, because sponsorship is about numbers.
It's a vicious circle.
Exactly.
Now, if we've got 4 or 5 players playing in Europe, and there's the press and media around, what you guys especially, and you say they're coming back to play in South Africa. I remember when Stephen Pienaar didn't want to play for us.
I remember.
Everyone was like,
back then, 1996, he was attacked.
But when he came here to play, eventually everybody was at the stadium. Lucas is one of the greatest of all time in terms of a statesman.
Exactly.
You know, you look at OJ Mbazela. Remember, he went to Spurs as well. Didn't quite make it.
Yes,
well, he failed the medical. You know why.
He had his own stuff.
But the point is, if we're constantly getting there on the levels without support, can you imagine what support we could get 17, 18-year-olds? Look at the French national team. 9 of them come out of African continents, even though they were colonized. They're still African boys.
I think on that score, it boils back to what you've mentioned earlier on about development in South Africa. Because the players you've just mentioned, your Stephen Pienaar, many others, they were coming from the ranks of the South African Football Association under 20 as well as under 17. That's where they started, and they moved through the ranks. Hence, they eventually found themselves playing for the senior side, which is Bafana, and eventually they were exported to big teams, Amsterdam, Ajax, in England, etc., etc.
You hit a nail on the head. If you look at Transnet School of Excellence, what it represented in South Africa, that was the pinnacle of youth development.
In South Africa, yes.
Is it still? I don't know. I don't want to be the answer to that, because we know what happens with Fun Valley and this Valley.
It's closing down because of financial challenges.
Well, the point is, when you're getting 40 million a year from Transnet, and you can't make that work, and you're not raising other sponsors, you know, I'll give you an idea with Iber Cup. It was something I couldn't figure out in the beginning, where we used to talk, and I'd go, okay, so for Iber Cup, we're going to go get bands and sponsors and blah, 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 blah. Then you need to say, how long are they going to live with you for? Are they going to live with you if they're challengers, or do they want to just ride on your coattails and make a big name of you being out there? And we've gone, no, Iber Cup deserves brands that are going to help build Iber Cup, as we're doing with the Gauteng provincial government. It's a slow process. We would love to get 100 million from government. we're never going to get that. We know we can't. But now we say, they're giving us enough. Yeah, how do we create the others as a support system? You know, you said something earlier on that still resonates with me quite dramatically, and that is about finances. Financially, Iber Cup would never be able to be held in South Africa, or vice versa. It cost us 52,000 Rand per player to take them to play overseas today with the exchange rate. Okay, team of 25 players. Do you know what you're looking at?
Millions and millions of rands.
It's millions. It cost us millions, because you must remember, Iber Cup pays for every international team that comes here in the first year. The funny thing about Iber Cup is I've had teams like Arsenal, I'll say it, were asking me, do they have armed guards outside every hotel door? You see your reaction. And the point is, you're going, how would you ever ask that? But perception is reality.
Yes.
My favorite story about Iber Cup is this, is the Lion Park out towards Johannesburg Dam. There's a big lion and game park there. They actually have a little soccer field that all the Rangers play on.
Okay.
But if you film from the other side of the soccer field, you don't see the fence. And they were filming the Rangers playing football, and on the other side, just over there, were the lions.
Wow.
The lions were just walking in line.
They were kept
So now this goes out on a video stream around the world and a reel, and one of the teams goes to us, are you sure you're going to have fences around your football teams? I'm going, well, Iber Cup's held at the University of Johannesburg, it's kind of secure. And they're going, yeah, but we're just a bit worried about, like, if the kids are small, will the animals... Then it dawned on me. I said, can I ask you a question? What animals? No, they Googled like lions and that, if they see like 9 or 10-year-old children. I said, lions in the middle of Johannesburg? Listen, but that's reality.
We don't have that.
That's reality. So, Biggie, I just want to answer your question earlier on. Everything goes back to development. Everything we sit and talk about today. Why did we bring Iber Cup to South Africa? Why do you think Chelsea and scouts are coming from European teams to South Africa? Because they know our development isn't where it belongs. But they also know where the talent lies, because they watch South Africa closely. You know, whether we've had success, Quinton Fortune, Man United, people forget him.
Exactly.
You know, Benny now with Man United as a second coaching to the striker.
Yeah, to the striker.
Somehow there's a good feeling about, if we can get them young enough and we can develop them properly, they could actually become world class.
Because Benny made his debut at the age of 16, I think, for 7 stars. It's 7 stars.
Correct.
7 stars in Cape Town before the teams were amalgamated between Ajax and Cape Town Spurs to form Ajax later. He started his debut at the age of 16, Benny McCarthy.
If you look at any of the major academies or any of the major teams overseas, La Masia, Barcelona, FCB, I was blessed to be part of that.
Wow.
In 2015, 2016, I worked with Josep Kalmer he was the technical director of Barcelona Football Club. And he came to South Africa to look for talent. And it was interesting because we had him here for 2 months.
Okay.
And I mean, Lionel Messi writes about him in his book. That's the caliber of the man. Quiet, stands him. He would not look at a player one day over 13.
Really?
They were here for Aspire Academy in Dubai, because his words were, if I get him after 13, his A picked up habits, but more importantly, I need 3 years to develop him. I need him at 13, that when he's 16, 17, he's starting to get ready to make his professional debut. Where are we doing that in South Africa?
It's not done.
No, it doesn't exist. There's nobody that's saying, with the exception of us, and I'm not being arrogant, because we got a long way to go.
I hear you.
But our planning over 5 years is that we will be able to give and assist South African football, SAFA, and clubs a program of development that they can embrace and start working towards, knowing it takes 2 to 3 years. We've got 2 boys in our academy in South Africa, in the Español Academy. They're twins, 11 years old.
11 years old.
I said to the father, whatever it takes, please leave him with me for the next 3-4 years. Whatever it takes. You have never seen such brilliant, natural,
talent,
cognitive, physical, technical, and small Messi's like Messi's. And you just go, look, they may grow out of it. But that's where we've got to start looking already.
You are watching Biggie on Sport. We say what they won't say. You spoke of the prevalence of unscrupulous scouting talents, and you call them managers or players, manager representatives, such as soccer agents, which are out there to lay their hands on whatever they can. How prevalent is the challenge in South Africa? Because it looks like our parents, they fall easily to these unscrupulous individuals.
So Biggie, we get approximately 5 to 7 adverts provided to us a week of trials for so-called international academies.
I've seen them, plenty of them on Facebook. I've seen them.
Every single day. And you know, we've appealed to SAFA to step in, because I'll give you an idea. So one that's just come up now, it's a big trials. Come with us, come to trials from the ages of, this is my best, of 9 to 21. Cost you 1,500 rand each for the day.
I saw that.
Can you imagine how many kids from the ages of 9 to 21, your infrastructure needed alone to evaluate them properly in what, 20 minutes? But thanks for taking your money.
That's not sufficient.
There was one that came here now, and he was talking about all these second division Spanish teams. He showed the badges of the 4 clubs, and the South African guys who supposedly have a contact overseas, these guys come here and it costs 1,000 rand for the day, and you know, they get 500 kids. That's 500,000 rand. Thank you very much.
1.5 multiplied by that number.
That's my point. And all the parents are going, I believe. So SABC News phoned us not too long ago when I was busy with the La Liga camps. So could we get your opinion on a player we've discovered staying in the south? He'd been promised a contract at City of Malaga, which was the La Liga first division team. We were with the La Liga representatives. We phoned Malaga. They'd never heard of this child. Eventually we discovered where he was. We found him. He was living in this room in Turfentine, a thin little mattress, a light bulb, and he hadn't eaten for 3 days.
Wow.
They had extorted 120,000 rand out of that family from Cape Town. They loaned money, they sold stuff, and the other kid was sitting, and these agents disappeared, just gone. He showed us the letter. It was just such a badly photocopied letter from City of Malaga.
Badly written letter.
And again, I think it's this desperation for hope that we can get out of this. Because to your point earlier on, football changed. And it became about the glory, the cars, the money, the jets,
everything.
It just became so money orientated that I think everybody believed they could go earn £100,000 a week, but they forget the thousands of players that sit below these top echelon, that ply away every day. You know, Wrexham United's a great story. They ran that thing on Netflix. I mean, the goalkeeper is a baker. Or he goes and works, and then he comes and plays, and then they come. You know, so that's the problem. It gets positioned in a youngster's mind, as does gangsterism. Well, here's an easier route for me to get money. I see the guy driving the car with the ring and maybe I go to work when I can do this. So we landed up with a generation right now, which is one, entitlement. They believe they're entitled to everything. The other one is they have a disposable mentality. Well, I'm going to steal a watch, I don't care, you know, et cetera. I'm not saying they all are like that. But if you looked at the rise of gangsterism, it's out of a need because they're suffering.
The suffering, yeah.
So now a footballer goes, do I train 3 times a week, give my soul and blood and life to that in the hope I can make it? He's going, there's got to be a quicker path. Now comes the guy with a letter. I represent a club. And he's going, I'm brilliant, I'm going. Biggie, I get personally, and I'll show you my phone with pleasure, 10 to 15 WhatsApps a day. Hi, how do we go play overseas? Hi, can I get to Spain? What can you do for me? I'm a great footballer, I'm a blah, 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 blah.
And what's your response to them?
Well, you know, you can't.
Because I want you to give advice to parents as that being bogged down under pressure by kids and say, Mom, I want to do this, I want to do this, without picking up certain signs that this thing is not legit at all?
There's two things a parent has to do. Do the research. Google's a great instrument. It'll give you, if I come to you and I say to you, Spurs Academy want you, go online, find out who's the head of the academy and write him a letter and say, dear sir, could you help me? I believe you're looking for players from Africa. So do the research. We don't expect you to be able to get an agent or somebody to look at this for you. But I always say, when somebody is promising you the world, you got to ask yourself why. Number one.
What's in there for you?
FIFA's rule is strict. You can Google it. I stand under correction. It's 14 sub-paragraph A, where it states quite emphatically, no player under the age of 18, unless he's given a scholarship for studying or the parent is taking up the citizenship, can be moved to another team, professional team, anywhere in the world.
Or only through those platforms like scholarships
Yes.
at that particular
So the
age.
scholarships is a little grey area because FIFA is saying they're trying to stop what we were battling with. 17-year-old boy goes overseas. There's a story. There are 5 South African boys in Portugal at the moment who are heading to live off the streets as beggars. So they went overseas.
At the moment.
Yes, they went overseas. They were promised a trial. What they didn't realize, there are 2 differences in Europe. There's what we call the player's experience and trials. Trials is when a club has done full investigation on you.
Okay.
They want your statistics. They want to know your game stats. They want video. They want a full coach's report. They want a medical, even if you're 15. So when somebody says to me, hey, I'm taking you to come into our club, Barcelona, and you're going to go, yay, without me asking any of those questions, come on, something's wrong, number one. Number 2, education opportunities exist because FIFA is saying too many kids just get left behind. Okay, so I can take your child tomorrow to my club, Español de Barcelona, for a 3-month player's experience over the holiday period. It'll cost you between 60 and 80,000 rand because that's what it costs any club in the world. And your son will be trained by our coaches and you'll be there. And granted, if he has a talent, they may say, we want to look at him a bit longer. But chances are he's doing that with 10,000 other kids. So people get confused. Somebody posted on the coaches forum yesterday, their son is in Portugal. They've spent 60,000 rand to date. He did the 3-month period. They thought it was trials. They had to pay for the food. He was staying in a room with 6 other players. They didn't have transport. You must see this mother wrote this letter to the coaches forum. And the truth be told is she didn't do the homework. So you can't blame the organization because they know people don't do homework. 2 years ago, Cape Town, Atletico Madrid camp, 4 days, 15,000 rand a player.
A player.
And we're going, no, it's not possible. Because I'm working with La Liga, we go down there. It's a tour company in South Africa, in Cape Town, that's created an Atletico Madrid club tour thing. He's brought a coach over who's not even in the club. And there's 60, 70 kids that have paid 15,000 rand each.
Michael, what can be done to circumvent this? Maybe workshops to be run? Because from time to time, parents, they fall prey to all these unscrupulous individuals. Do we need to have maybe workshops? Or do we need to have maybe gatherings where parents will be told? As you just said to me that your phone is kept inundated with requests that, hey, Michael, I want to play there, and so forth. Yeah.
And we just keep going full circle, you and I here, because the full circle is this. If an LFA can't take responsibility for football in its backyard, where these people are using fields in the LFA's backyard,
Yeah.
no wonder they're getting away with it. Juventus are running a camp, 6,600 rand a player for 4 days, and you get a Juventus shirt. And yet it's been done in the backyard of an LFA that tells everybody they're the best run LFA. When I phone the chairman and I say to him, you need to take a look at this. What are you doing about it? He says, I've escalated it up to the SAFA office. I'm not now going to phone the SAFA office and say, what are you doing about that? They say, well, we've escalated it up to the Gauteng office. Accountability starts at the bottom. And this is why I say we invest very heavily at the top. Walter's doing a great job at the top.
Steenbok.
Yes.
Walter Steenbok, yeah.
But look where most of the players are coming from, Sundowns and Chiefs.
Exactly.
Are you telling me there aren't other talent in KwaZulu-Natal, in Amazulu, or the Academy in Cape Town, or John Comite Spurs? So I'm saying tons of work to be done. But, you know, there's a very famous mayor, his name was Mayor Giuliani of New York City.
Okay.
He had a concept called the broken windows. He's written a fantastic book about that. And in those days, they used to do, the trains were just full of graffiti, and all the windows were broken in New York. And he said to his team, fix the broken windows. And when they break them again, fix them again. And they break them again, fix them again. And you know what happened? When they broke the windows, the public started saying, hey, stop breaking the windows, to the very people breaking the windows.
Wow.
Accountability.
Accountability.
You take responsibility. You know, the trains would come into the station at night, covered in graffiti. He would clean off every bit of paint on every single train and send it out again.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. There's a lot of them in the US.
He would come back with the graffiti, he would clean the train. When the next graffiti artist came, the people on the train said, hey, stop it. And all of a sudden, the trains in America don't have the graffiti anymore. So I'm saying, they need to be educated. You can't expect a parent who's potentially got a small job, earning a couple of $1,000 to understand this football world. How do you educate? You educate through the very coaches who coach in those townships, who help kids understand. It's not an impossible dream, but there's so much work to be done in between.
Michael, as we're about to part ways, and one of the main focus basically for this conversation was the Iber Cup.
Yes.
More of the World Cup we had in 2010. It will be something similar to that. And I guess many South Africans are looking forward to that, especially those who are afraid to the fact that the tournament is coming to the country. And once again, remind the viewers as to when is it taking place, and what does it entails at the end of the day. What is it that you want to achieve as a country? Once again, can you go through that once again?
So Iber Cup is the world's biggest football youth tournament. It's run across the globe. We have close to 150,000 players, 10,000 clubs participate every year. It's time to showcase South African talent. Iber Cup will be bringing teams from around the world in the ages of 10 years old to 18 years old to play in the biggest youth tournament ever held in South Africa. Our intention is to make sure talent identification programs start getting built out of Iber Cup. Let's put on a tournament that our country can be proud of. This will be broadcast to over 100 million people around the world. And that may not be big in the World Cup terms, but for a South African youth tournament to be broadcast to so many countries, we want those countries to go, we want to come play in South Africa. It's our time to start giving our talent the opportunity to play against the rest of the world. We need to break the mold that we're on the southern tip of Africa and we can't participate in the globe. It's time for our children to go, actually, you know what? With hard work, with discipline, with respect, say no to gender-based violence, stand up against racism, we could actually start being noticed. When a child sits in a township and they watch Iber Cup on SABC, on your podcast, they go, I'm starting to believe it is possible. So the impossible dream is no longer impossible. The dreams become a reality, and the reality is, as this grows, Iber Cup will go to Cape Town. We will shift it and run tournaments around South Africa, because Biggie, if we don't give our youth the chance, we're going to lose them to the sport completely.
This is tantalizing to many viewers out there, and perhaps they would like to be part of this big football spectacle. When is it taking place, and if they would like to be part of this, how do they go about to do that?
We would gladly give you an invitation to join us, please. We take place from the 12th to the 16th of December at the University of Johannesburg.
Okay.
We're using their main fields. We are targeting 156 teams. At the moment, I think we're close to 80 or 90 teams already registered. If we see there's a bigger spillage, we may look towards Wits Marks Park, which is just down the road from the University of Johannesburg. But the 12th to the 16th, and on the 12th, we're having an exceptional opening ceremony. We want to invite the public. They don't pay to come see this. We want the public to come and enjoy football and see some of the best teams, not only around the globe, but from South Africa playing. Cape Town, Durban, KwaZulu-Natal, Limpopo. We're welcome to have you there, Biggie. It would be an absolute pleasure to have you on the side.
12th to the 16th of December 2024.
100%.
Yeah, I've gone through your page. You've been urging people to book quickly. When is the cut-off date, if there is
our cut-off
any?
date,
and what are the requirements as well? Sorry,
yes,
Michael.
my apologies, I interrupt.
Yes.
So we have various Facebook page, Instagram, Iber Cup, South Africa, ibercup.com, ibercup.coza. Please feel free to go in there and have a look at it. It explains everything you need. It has a very simple registration portal. You register onto Iber Cup. We validate that you are a real team. As soon as that's done. And here's something exciting I forgot to mention.
Go ahead.
I forget. The winning team, South African winning team of Iber Cup, based on the ranking system we use globally, we will pay to go play in Portugal in 2025 at the biggest Iber Cup tournament in the world. We're paying for them to go over.
Wow.
That's our prize. We're going to really, the promise is this. And listen, Gauteng provincial government are our partners. So the prize is we're taking them over. The other thing Iber Cup is doing, we are supporting 10 schools who we're paying for to play in Iber Cup this year.
From local.
Gauteng provincial government will choose the schools, male and female.
Wow.
We want female teams. Where are you? We need more women's teams. SAFA are giving us 10 of their development clubs. They choose them, they bring them. And again, Iber Cup is about true development, giving back to the community. So not only are we going to have the Chiefs and the Sundowns and the bigger teams in South Africa, but we're also going to really have some strong township teams from the SAFA groups, as well as schools that we believe deserve to be recognized. Clappermire wins everything. Racina's done very well. Those schools might not have a club. Let's bring them into the system. So we want to award a team a free trip to Europe, to play in Europe, to represent us and say we've arrived.
Can you share your socials or any contact details if anyone would like to get hold of you?
www.ibercup.co.za. Everything there. There's an info. They can register there. If they need to get more information, they just write at info@Iber Cup. They'll be responded to by our team of people that are working in our offices. I'm loath to give up my cell number anymore because it's just madness.
It's ringing.
But if they go on to IG as well, on Instagram, ibercup.coza, ibercup.com, there's a link there for them as well if they want to ask questions or message us. So we have a team dedicated to responding to all those people who are looking for stuff. But www.ibercup.coza, that's the place to go. It gives you everything you need to know about the tournament.
Your message to football enthusiasts in South Africa, in as far as Iber Cup is concerned?
If I have to give a message to South Africans, it's time to stand up and make things happen rather than complain about everything that stops you. Stop complaining about what we can't do. How about we shift the mindset to saying we can do? In 2016, when I said I'm bringing Iber Cup to South Africa, I was called a con artist, a scam artist. Wow. I had people phoning people saying this will never happen. We have to stop being negative. Become positive. Make the change happen yourself, and it will happen.
I understand the special one is coming as well. Oh, it's a secret.
Well, he's our ambassador. He's signed on.
Wow.
He has stated he'd like to come.
Okay.
The other exciting news is we've just signed Kiki Nazareth from Barcelona Football Club.
Okay.
She's now become our ambassador.
Okay.
The special one, you could have a huge surprise if you come to the tournament, is all I'm going to tell you right now.
Definitely, I will be there.
Thank you, sir.
Well, that's how we come to the end of it. Quite exciting, a very colorful resume of my guest, Michael here. He is so colorful. He knows his stuff. He knows his football. This is a Biggie on sport. We say what they won't say. So South Africans out there, especially football lovers, supporters out there, and most of you we have hosted here, make sure that you are tracking down to that particular stadium, Vets University Stadium, as you had on the 12th, from the 12th until to the 16th, Iber Cup. For the first time in South Africa, it will be more of your World Cup right here in South Africa. Thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate your support all the time. Do not forget to share, like, but most of all, subscribe on our socials. I thank you so much to the background staff personnel, Jimmy Mashansi, our executive producer, as well as the staff at JD Art 24 Studios. I'm talking here part of my main man, which is JJ. Until then, sharp sharp.